Let's record. Yeah, we had like I think we had a peak of 13 people yesterday, which is nice. But also the beta guys made already 3, I think. How's your day been? Oh, good morning, Scott. Actually, it's not about to ask how's your day been. It's a very young day.
Yeah, just starting.
How's the situation in Vancouver? Is everyone relaxed or are people getting nervous if they're
I think
limited?
it was kind of nervous probably last week it was the most nervous, but it's kind of stabilizing now. People are still taking a lot of precautions, but it's not like the States for sure. Like my family is there and they send me stuff and they're very worried, but yeah, it's not like that.
I guess it also depends. We're in the States. We met Sini yesterday and he said that people in Silicon Valley went in self-isolation 2 weeks before it was a call, before it was an order, and they booked Airbnb 6 hours outside of San Francisco. And they're there for 5-6 weeks now. And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? If you find your space with maybe a little garden or some more a broader radius to move for activity rather than sticking. I mean, this San Francisco is like you can't leave your home other for grocery shopping or if you're bleeding out of your eyes. Yeah, Vienna is doing well here because we can basically do what we want. We just shouldn't get closer than 2 meters to anyone else, but we can 40% of the city is park. So there's a lot of activities outdoor. I go on a 2 hours Vespa ride every day. This is kind of my getting fresh oxygen into the brain. And the thing is that there is no weekends anymore, right? It doesn't make sense to call any day different from the other because you can do everything anyways every day. So that means that I just cut the idea of Saturday and Sunday off the calendar and turned every day into a part of the day doing nothing, getting outside, reading a book, sitting on the Vespa for 2 hours. And
well, I'm glad that's what you're doing with the extra sort of weekend time. I just saw on the news that the alcohol purchases are up 40% here because people feel like it's Saturday. So now they're sort of putting warnings in place to like prevent bad habits and things of that nature. But no, we have a lot of outdoor spots here too. So actually when it's a nice day like now, it's like, wait, where do all these people come from? I've never seen as many people out here, but there's still enough space sort of for a safe distance.
So I use Strava, and some of my Strava peers are in Vancouver, and I see morning runs and evening runs, and seeing them quite active.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's interesting so I've been on Zoom from day one. I kind of converted everything converted instantly, and I just start with the webinars and then the tours, and I'm moving on with the tours. So there in 3 weeks, there's going to be another Silicon Valley tour with different set of people. So there's no 2 meetings the same. And then the week after, I'm doing a global tour with 1 day New York, 1 day London, 1 day Tel Aviv, 1 day Mumbai, and the last day in Hong Kong. 2 meetings every day. It's interesting to see how the attire changes, right? From like in the beginning, they were more or less I should be at the office. So this is how I look when I walk to the office. So this is how I look when I have my online meeting. Week 2, no ties. Week 3, open shirt. Week 4, t-shirt. Week 5, I don't know. I just came out of bed. What time is it? Like at any random time of the day. Beards growing. Yeah. Interesting. Share some thoughts and feedbacks and some emotions from the first half of this tour, guys. And I'm gonna unmute y'all so you can all things you like, things you wondered, things where you would like to have the conversation going on, going in a different direction, going in a new direction. You haven't, Scott, you haven't been there yesterday, Letizia, I don't know if you can hear us. You haven't been the other days. Every session is recorded, so you can also revisit every session and watch it. Yesterday we had a nice conversation with Michael Seiler, who had meandering career from music to concert to event to Google to finally running his own company in the social business. So he's kind of collecting all his resources and network to support social endeavors. And it was more of a casual fireside chat. I don't know how you felt about it. I really enjoyed it. And then we met the Beta guys. Have you heard of Beta before, Scott?
Yeah, I have a couple of their products right here unopened.
Nice. Yeah. So you know what they're doing? You know the concept? You know the concept?
No, I don't know the broader concept. I just have one of their devices, which is like really cool. But no.
So it's retail as a service. They actually offering, what they're doing is they understand that the retail outlet is a data mining source for an industry. So when people come to the store, they watch how do they understand the product? What questions do they ask? Are they willing to pay? How long do they look at the product? Do they buy the product or not? Any given questions, because they're basically the proxy to the customer or to the person using, to the user of all these devices. So it's kind of not market research, but real-time insight. So you can run experiments and you can do all sorts of things, and they will deliver real-time data or weekly reports, depends on your deal, to the industry. And that's what makes Beta so interesting, because they don't have to make money when they sell a product. They basically, whatever they sell the product for, it goes directly to the industry. The industry pays for the data. So they get a flat of, I don't know, let's say $1,000 a week for each facing, and they deliver data every day. And also when you're running a Kickstarter campaign and you've got enough funding to produce the thing, you won't have enough funding to produce 2 million units, because that's what Best Buy would ask you for. And then, I don't know, you might have lost a lot of money, because sometimes it's cheaper to discontinue a product. So you just produce a few hundred and drop it at Beta into the outlet, and then you get real-time, real-life shelf experience, and you're way more informed how to proceed with your product. And also you can show different data to companies like Best Buy. It's like, we sold 100 a day. That's a different argument than we strongly believe that there's a potential for the product. So it's a lot more than just selling goods. It's basically a data mining company. And I don't know if you heard about that. They recently acquired Toys R Us, and they're going to reopen Toys R Us stores that are in the same fashion. So the toy industry will get real-time information about their customers, which will probably remove
Incredible.
a lot of crap. It's interesting, right? Probably that will remove a lot of crap from the shelves, and what's relevant and fun and enjoyable for the children stays there. So that was the two conversations yesterday. But I know Janis, Anders, Martin, you've been here yesterday as well. Share your, I think it's more relevant when you speak about your experience so far. Janis.
So I think, as I had as a recap yesterday already, I really enjoyed the first session. I think because it resonated with me more strongly, because he's also into events, he's also into community building, into social impact. And so when it came to retail, there was quite a lot of new information. And after a quite intense day, as I said yesterday, it was really enjoyable to listen to Dieter asking relevant questions. And I think this is the beauty about having this group, that even though you might not be on top of your game, there's someone else filling the gap and asking relevant questions, and you can absorb kind of good information without you being the one who pokes for this information.
Also, if you feel like you'd like to ask something, but you don't want to ask because you're more into the passive mode, you can post questions into the chat or inbox me directly, and I can ask the questions for you. So also to keep the conversation alive, because that would give you, like, there's something I'd like to ask, but I don't want to ask because I don't want to have a conversation right now. I just want to be in passive mode. So if you know what I mean, if that's something, just chat me your question, I'll ask it, and then you can still enjoy, but it goes in the direction of your desire. You still like see my passive mode.
Thanks.
What was maybe a key insight for anyone that they got from Michael's discussion? I was curious.
Yeah, Nils Anders, what was the big thing that you took, or Martin, you were also there? What was some of the key ideas and messages that you took from Michael's conversation?
Well, for me was actually the concept of the shop very interesting. So, but I have no clue now what we can do with this idea in Austria. So
you're talking about beta, right?
Longer.
You're talking about beta, right?
Yes. But I think there is necessary that you have a big city. So maybe only Vienna or Graz would be fit, or maybe Linz already is too small, no?
Yeah, I like this way of looking into, like, how do you analyze a community? For example, what's the shared vocabulary that you and your community have? I thought that was actually interesting, that you grow lingo with your peeps. And that's not only calling yourself a Googler if you work at Google, because that's various layers, I think. Oh, Letizia, it's
an aligned agenda and an aligned vision of where you want to go with the community. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, can you repeat that? I didn't catch the first bit.
Yeah, of course. So it's about, for me, it was the alignment of having a shared vision within the community and being able to align the different parts of the community, like competences, and having a shared, I don't know, sharing the same visions towards something within the community, and then interact within the community as well. So being present and being including within the community and having the same shared values, if it makes any sense. I'm not really sure.
Frederick, how about you?
That must have been exciting for TEDxers. No, I was just saying it must have been that must have been an exciting one for TEDxers on the call.
Yes. And Michael was involved when I did TEDx San Francisco in 2015. Michael was also involved as a partner. He worked at Galvanize and we did things together. So we also kind of got that looked into that community, which I think still is a very special one, especially for me. I basically dropped out of the TEDx community in late 2015, early 2016. And I still feel so strongly connected to so many people. I'm still involved in up to 5 TEDx events a year as a speaker coach or as a mentor to the curator. It's such a strong network and there's so much love and compassion.
Yeah, I came into the program in 2016. So we just missed each other, I guess.
Yeah.
Technically, what region were you ambassador for?
Yeah, it was more of a global ambassadorship, initially assigned for Europe, but I'm local in Vienna and in San Francisco, and then I spent 5 nights a month in a plane traveling from one place to another, very much of them being involved in TEDx events. And I was from 2010 to 2016 actually, I was TEDx ambassador, working with 100 TEDx events. So that was a beauty. And then we did TEDx. So I invented formats at the TEDx community, and that where TED invited me to be part of this. I invented the TEDx organizers meeting gathering, which sounds so obvious, but that was kind of, we were there from day one. So a lot of things
Are you talking about the TEDx Global Gathering?
No, that was regional gatherings.
The regional workshops. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That was something that came up. We had the first one in 2010 in Amsterdam. No, 2011
Gotcha.
in Amsterdam. Together with Jim Stolze and Stefan Balzer. We did that. And then I invented the TEDx weekends. And we had one in Vienna. So the first one was the one that I curated, which was a great experience. There was a TEDx. It started with a TEDx event, and everything went south on the TEDx event, but the rest of the experience was really great. And that was also kind of that. That's where problems started growing between Ted and me. So Jay and Will and me. And then there was TEDx event in Singapore in the same year. And I think now and then there are some TEDx weekend in Singapore. And I think last year there was one in Italy. Now and then people are still doing that, taking that format.
Yeah, I went to the Taipei one this past year.
Nice.
Yeah, but sorry, wait, what was the problem? You were trying to have a TEDx event and it turned into a TEDx weekend? Is that what you said?
No, that format, the TEDx weekend has a format that I came up with. And the TEDx weekend starts with a salon, and then you have workshops, and then you have a social, there's a framework for this, social activity. So we had a TEDx weekend on Friday, then we had, I think 20 workshops on Saturday, and then we went for a picnic with the whole TEDx community on Sunday. There were 250 TEDx organizers from 45 countries. And Letizia, so nice. She said, because you started organizing the best events for our community. So much love. So that was the format that I invented. I worked a week in New York at the TED office, and we came up with different things, and we threw away a lot. Also, we looked into mentorship, we looked into awards, we looked into several aspects that we can experiment with. And as we were always very strong and convinced that we don't want to start competing who's producing the better TEDx event, because we're building a global idea, a global brand. There's a global mission. So also the idea of competition is outdated. So a lot of this was kind of wrong with the idea of making an award. But that was one of the things that popped up. And the TEDx weekend was also one of the concepts that I presented. And we decided that that was a really good one. So I was invited to start in Vienna at TED in 2015. In February or March, it was announced. And then we had the TEDx weekend in Vienna in June. It was nice. And then TEDx San Francisco, and then there were a lot of weird things going on. And then I realized, okay, TEDx is not a passion project anymore, and they have to move on a different path, which makes sense from their perspective, because if you have 4,000 licensees, you also have to consider quality as something that you have to take care of, because every single TEDx organizer can fuck up with the TED brand. It just started as something that was mainly passionate and mainly driven by a mother of a community. And also when she left, a lot of things changed. So I just feel like it's such a privilege having been there from day one. I can remember when I was sitting next to Salome at TED Global in 2009, and Laura announced the TEDx program, and she just pushed me and said, hey, you have to do this. This is really cool. And I was sitting next to her, and I applied for the first TEDx event during the TED when they announced it.
You were just kind of around, or was that at a TED event?
Yeah, at TED and TED Global 2009, they announced TEDx.
Okay.
And my first TED was TED Global 2009. That was the first one I attended. And I've been at every TED event from 2009 to 2015.
Gotcha.
Then I think 2016 I was at the fest, and then I didn't attend any TED event since. But that's not. We're not here about talking about TED. Give me more about more thoughts. Frederick, what's your take on the previous conversations? And now we have Letizia, who's from the farm, and now we even have video. Beautiful to see you at day one of the day one loves at the TED. We love to think back at Summit and Active in Palm Springs, where we had beautiful time. And everyone was like, yes, I was there. And it's a beautiful thing. But here, something different. And Dieter told me that he's on the signed in from the phone, so he's more in the passive mode because he can't really talk. But Frederick is here. So Frederick, share with us, especially with Letizia, because it's the first time that she managed to sign in. So that's really cool.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah.
Letizia,
previous, what's the question again?
Give her a quick download of the first part of the Silicon Valley, the virtual Silicon Valley tour.
Like the key point is keep your data safe, use more artificial intelligence, create more experiences while shopping, and oh god, there's so many. Like I've written it down, but it's hard to remember like after so many talks right now. It's like information overload every day.
Okay. So Martin's feedback yesterday was that he would feel a lot better if he would get a little preparation on who we're going to meet and who we're going to have a conversation with. So maybe I'd take the 7 minutes to go to introduce you to who we're going to meet today. So you get a feeling also, not too much of a time, but a little time what questions you might want to ask. So Frederick Hermann is a German who started working with a startup in Austria and then got acquired, or Y Combinator invested in them. So they all moved to Silicon Valley, where I met him later. I didn't know him when he was in Austria. And he was with Jawbone, for example. I don't know if you can remember Jawbone, the company. They had the Bluetooth headset was the first one they had. Then they had the Jambox, which was a really cool device, the Bluetooth speaker. And the last thing they had on stock was the Upband, which was one of the first wearables, a really nicely designed wearable where you can track basically everything. It was very innovative by the time. They got $1 billion of investment. And the CEO just burned $1 billion down to zero. So they went bellies up, and he's now working for a company that goes into the reputation score as an asset. So how can you understand your ratings, your reputation score as something that pays into your growth? But for that company he works at, and that's more of what he's going to talk about, is being the director of growth, a role that many organizations don't even know what that means. And he's going to explain a little about that. Director of growth, as the name says, his role is massive growth of the company. And he does this by running experiments. And they also have, so they're the growth hackers in San Francisco, and they have a process. They have tools to support your experiments. And he's going to share about this. Interesting question would be, for example, I personally believe that if the director of growth does a good job, marketing and sales are not a key role in the organization anymore. Because you constantly deliver products, maybe no one has asked for, but everyone understands that they're really valuable and useful, and they're solving problems. So it's not about explaining it to people anymore. It's about making it available. And that's more of a logistics question and operations question than a strategic role. So I don't know what his opinion towards this is. He might have a completely different opinion, but that could be something worth asking. It's like, do you think that what you're doing will replace marketing in the future? Also, the team he works with is cross-disciplinary. So from every division of the organization, he has people in his team, which totally changes the concept or the problems with buckets, because you don't have silos anymore, because there's everyone from any division, every division in the team. So that's interesting. And then we're going to meet Raja. She works for Plug and Play. I don't know if you heard of Plug and Play before. It's the most active investor in Silicon Valley, but they're not only in Silicon Valley, but I think in 47 other sites. So they have global outreach. They're on every continent. They recently opened a place in Vienna at the airport where they go into tourism. They cover all the verticals. With some verticals, they have, like in Germany, they have the startup Autobahn. They're doing an amazing job in supporting and challenging and stretching the startup community. And she will not only give you a more of an insights of what Plug and Play is and what they're doing, but also the whole environment, the whole ecosystem. So every question you might have every burning question about the startup community, think about it. She might have a good answer on it, or if you're considering starting something new, how your journey could look like, or if you're part of a startup, what they could do for you, or you could do for them, or how would they look at what you're doing. All these kinds of questions. I think both are, so today is interesting because both are very Silicon Valley specific, right? Most of the people, although it's only a part of it, it's actually 10% of what's happening in Silicon Valley startup. So it's not that much, but on the other hand, I think 50% or 60% of US venture capital is traded in Silicon Valley. And a lot of people associate startup with Silicon Valley. So I would say it's one of the key things of Silicon Valley, and the director of growth is a role that was invented there. So today is probably a very Silicon Valley typical day. a little outlook for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to meet the data guy at Facebook, and we'll close with Judith Dobosch, an amazing lecturer, amazing professor at the second oldest university or education institution in Silicon Valley. So for everyone involved in education, it's going to be until the very last moment, full of insightful material. So we're close to begin. I guess that Frederick will join us very soon.
Faz uns encontros com os caras top de todas as empresas. E aí ele cobra dos caras, só que deu para mim e para outra.
I think Letizia is not talking to us, so I'm gonna mute her. If Letizia, if you're talking to us, you have to re-unmute yourself. Because my Spanish is very poor. I don't know how about you, but my Spanish is very, very basic. I'm learning it though, but slow pace. That's kind of the amazing thing with right now, right? I'm learning, I'm baking bread every day. I'm totally passionate about baking bread. So I start my day every day at, I don't know, 5 or 6 in the morning with the fresh smell of bread. How can a day be any better than with the fresh smell?
Are you making sourdough bread then? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's really good.
Cool.
It's really good. Maybe I can, yeah, I don't know if I can share a picture. I should be able to share a picture with you. Here. You can see the bread that I did 2 days ago.